My first two businesses failed. And today we're going to talk about why. So in 2021, after I graduated with my undergrad, I started Amore Bookkeeping, which was my first business. Amore Bookkeeping was really birthed because I saw my dad, I saw my dad doing business from when I was young, and I just didn't understand why he wasn't a billionaire already because he was working so hard. And so I wanted to understand business from the inside out. I thought this would be a great way to learn it from the numbers. So that's why I started to study accounting in school. That led to my bachelor's degree. And even though I went through my full grown identity crisis, which I talked about yesterday, you can go check out that video. I still wanted to do something. I really wanted to help business owners to understand it, because there are so many business owners who don't understand what's going on in their business. They don't understand the money. They can't read any of the financial statements. They just don't know. And they have the skill to start the business, but they don't have the understanding of the financial part. They basically just know that you need money to buy stuff, whatever, but they're not interpreting the numbers in a way to give them really insightful data in order to grow the business to another level. So I wanted to step in there, and it was mainly because of my experience in my household, and it just spilled over to me wanting to help my dad at first and also to help other people as well. So after I graduated, I thought I could start that business. So I started the business. All right. I got it registered, everything. I was like, okay, I already know these concepts. I was introduced to QuickBooks when I was in college, but I don't quite remember everything, so I know I need help. I purchased a mentorship program for, I think it was around $2,000, and that was going to be the thing that taught me everything I needed to know to get back into the mental space of doing bookkeeping. I would also learn how to get certified and basically set up shop, right? So I didn't have the money to pay for the payment plan, to pay the entire 2001. So I got a payment plan, and I think that lasted for either a year or 6 months. I don't quote me. But I started learning everything I needed to know. I got certified and I was up and ready. Now what? I'm following the course T by T. Let's do this, let's do that. And I said to myself, I'm giving this a whole year. I'm going to pour myself into it, and I'm going to see what happens. The same time when I started the business, I thought, okay, let me put content out. So I started this YouTube channel. I started to post on there. I started all my social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And I was just on there posting content, thinking that would be the thing that would bring me the clients. So I did that over for most of the year. And I thought, okay, you know what? In the process of me filming for my business, I could also monetize my YouTube channel and all of that stuff. That was the entrepreneur brain just on autopilot. At the end of the year, none of the things that I wanted happened. And after I looked back on it, I thought, man, I'm on here posting content multiple times a day, not YouTube, but on other social media platforms, posting multiple times a day, and nobody's reaching out and saying be my client. They want to be my client, and it was just so frustrating for me. And because at the same time I was also looking a job, I just finished college, I didn't have a job, and I was searching for a job, and I thought this business would be my big move from college to entrepreneurship, and that did not happen at all. But I want to talk about, I'm going to start with Amore Bookkeeping since this is the first one. I'm going to break down the things that I did looking back now and why these things were definitely not going to get me the results that I wanted. So the first thing was, I wasn't clear on who I wanted to serve. I just wanted a client. I just wanted to help business owners to understand their numbers. I wasn't necessarily connected to any business owner particularly, only my dad. So everybody else was just like, I just want a client. There wasn't anything specific. I didn't have a niche. I didn't have anything that I was looking for. I just wanted somebody to work with. And Because of that, one of the ways that I was marketing in terms of my content, it wasn't tailored to any specific business. And I could look back on that to see that being a downfall, because even if I'm using my content to promote my business, I wasn't specifically talking to a niche. And I can see how that wasn't, really the best strategy in terms of my clients even knowing that I am catering to them, even though I said small business owner. One second. So even though I'm saying small business owners, I'm not targeting photographers, I'm not targeting coaches or consultants. Like, there's nothing specific in my branding to say I'm targeting these type of people. And so the bookkeeper who is targeting those type of people are definitely going to win those clients, right? So that is definitely something where I should have been a lot more intentional about in terms of my approach, because my storyline as to why I started this business, it makes sense to me. It's deeply personal, and that's the reason why I was even invested in the first place. That's the reason. That's what was fueling my passion to even upload on days when I didn't want to upload, because I know that this really has a meaning. It has a brand. It's coming from somewhere, and it's really something that can land. But not being specific at all, that was completely a downfall of that contributed to this business failing. The second reason was I spent too much time on the wrong things. From I started this business off the bat, the business became a LLC. I was spending way too much time trying to create a website. I was spending way too much time creating content. Not that content is bad, but in all of this, which leads into my third point, my outreach was whack. Yes, I was creating the content. The content wasn't specific to any business. So, yeah, even though I'm spending a lot of time editing, creating, I'm not talking to a specific person. They don't know who I'm talking about for all they care. And I was not directly reaching out to anybody at that time. I was just doing my content. Then, when I started reaching out to people, I wasn't very intentional about the outreach. I think I sent out, to be honest, about 5,000 emails to different companies. And it probably was the same email, the same generic email to all of those companies. And I could definitely understand why they did not get back to me. I did not get a response from any one of those companies. I started to DM people. I went on Instagram and Facebook, and this was after a while. This is after the year when I realized, okay, this is not working out, and I kind of took a break and I restarted the process with a different approach, and I started to actually reach out to people now. That's when I actually went into Facebook and Instagram and DM people, go on LinkedIn and messaging people, and I'm a little bit more intentional. But also, I even went on the phone. I was even on the phone calling people when I said, okay, I'm going to target the restaurant niche. I started to get on the phone and I was calling restaurants, and, they would put me off. It was just a lot of rejection and a lot of things. But when I talked about spending too much time, and I'm kind of going back and forth between these two parts because I think they kind of just intertwine. But when I said spending too much time doing the wrong things, even though I had my bachelor's degree in accounting, because I was having my identity crisis, I'm not sure if I want to be in this field in the first place. I was just not showing up as confident. I was just trying to spend so much time to have the perfect website, which I still don't. Even after 4 years or 3 years, I still don't. And I was just trying to make sure that if I do get a client, when they come, they would want to stay, because I just didn't even feel confident in my abilities to perform the task, even though I knew how to do it. And of course, you know that some things you're just going to learn as you do. You're not going to learn everything off the bat. I was trying to just learn everything off the bat. And if I am not practicing it, it's just not going to stick, right? So I was just spending, I was trying to make sure that I had business cards, which I still don't have. I was, every second I was on my, I was trying to tweak my website to get it how I want, perfectly done. I was trying to create different digital flyers to send to people all the time, and it would still not lead anywhere because my main focus should have been on my outreach, on perfecting, getting that close. Because even though this is a bookkeeping business, the process of closing is a sales process. It's all of it, getting a customer is a sales process, right? So instead of focusing my effort directly on that, I was focusing my effort on trying to make sure when they came, they had something that was going to convince them to stay, right? This is why it's so important to really not have your identity just tied up in your work. Because at that point, since I did not know what I wanted to do with my life, and I'd spent 4 years studying accounting, and I did not feel this is where I wanted to be anymore, I did not know what to do with myself. And it showed up in the way that I was selling myself. It showed up in the way that I was marketing myself. It showed up in my business. And that was partly a reason why it just did not work out for me. And this was service-based business. This was a skill that I already had. I didn't own, yes, I invested the $2,000 to really get hands-on training and to really get access to certification and to actual bookkeepers who were doing it, and to, you know, have a community around me. So I did put an investment in it, but it was already something that I knew, and I still wasn't able to sell it because I just was not confident in myself and my career ambitions. And even though 5 years later I'm not fully at the place that I need to be career-wise, but I can definitely look back on it to see that that contributed a ton. All right. So before I go on anymore on Amore Bookkeeping, right? I'm no longer doing Amore Bookkeeping, but I closed that door not just because it didn't work out, but also because I started it because I wanted to solve a problem, and I just convinced myself that's the only way to solve it. I'm really kind of exploring different ways to solve it. I like to always say this. I always count down the numbers and I say 1 plus 9 is 10, 8 plus 2 is 10. You get the point. It's just a lot of different ways to go about things. You're ending up with the same result. So I kind of stepped away from it, and I'm just really glad that I started it and I put the work in. Well, let me not put quotes. I did put the work in. I probably just didn't put it the right way because, of course, this is my first time and I'm learning. So I'm not going to discount everything that I did. But looking back, I can definitely see how adjusting these things could have made a very different output. And I was also very scared to get on the phone with people. I don't know why. And this was when I actually started to get on the phone with people, was like way when I came back and I was trying to create a different approach, and I started to reach out directly in DMs. And so that's when I actually got on the phone and called people. And what I was scared of, which is them rejecting me, happened anyway. So what's there to lose? All right, so business number 1, service-based business. Now, because I did not have any success in this, I thought, let's enter the product arena. But actually, you know what, let me go back, because this product-based business was not started. It wasn't started the way Amore Bookkeeping was started, and it wasn't even officially a business. It was just something that I started out of necessity to provide for myself. When I went back to Jamaica in 2023, I think it was, I had debt that I took out for to help to pay for a section of my master's degree. And when I went back to Jamaica, I didn't have any money because I was working non-stop at my job. I was working assistant manager at a fast food joint, and I was working non-stop 16 days a week every day to pay my school fee. Because at that point, during that degree, my school fee was about $8,000 to $10,000 every month. So every dollar that I worked went straight towards paying for my degree. So when I finished school, I did not have anything I didn't have any money. And I went back home because, things got a little bit sticky. I did not get approved for my work permit and all of that. So I was like, okay, let me go back home. I still had my loan and I had no money. And I did not know what to do. I was just out here doing everything and anything and just freaking out. I started to tutor in that process. I found out I did not like tutoring, and a teaching thing for me just doesn't seem like the fit. Like I love to teach, but in the settings that I was teaching, I don't think it was best in that way. And it wasn't really teaching, actually. You know what? It wasn't really even teaching, it was tutoring. So those are completely different things. I was tutoring for GSTAT, CXC, and the little kids with their very impatient self, and my God, that was a time. Anyways, I did that for a while until the kids were ready to take their exams. So obviously there goes the income because they no longer needed my service. I started selling snacks at my home, and the tutoring kids were the ones buying the snacks. So when they left, so did that money too. And it was just like the people in my household just buying snacks just because they're there and it's there conveniently. And after a while, I stopped selling the snacks, and then I think my dad was selling some products for me in his business. I did that for a while too. And then after a while, that was really what was paying the base of my loan. And my mom would chip in and help me when she could, but she also wasn't working, so I couldn't really expect her to, do everything. But I was so grateful that she was helpful, even though I was struggling to take the money because I did not want that to be my situation, but thankfully she did help me out. So when she was in the States, she bought a coconut oil machine that she was going to use to make coconut oil just for herself because she loves coconut oil. When we set up the machine and everything, no, it wasn't producing as we thought it would, so she didn't use it because it was way slower than if we were going to use our hands. So she didn't use it, she sold it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do the coconut oil and see if I could get people to buy it, because since you're not going to do it anymore, might as well I do it and, and see if I could actually sell it. So I started selling. So I started getting coconut oil. I started getting coconuts. I was getting some from my dad. And then I found a vendor that was selling coconut. And so I told him that I wanted some and he was supplying me. And I did that initially. I did not anticipate the amount of work it would take to make this oil. I would sit down around these coconuts for the entire day gratering coconut. I remember when my grandparents when I was younger, and I would see my grandmother just going through coconut quick. I was there the entire day. Of course, I was gratering like 20 coconuts a day. So that was a lot. And sometimes the grater would just make my fingers so tender, so I had to slow down, and it just slowed the process down. After I finished grater, then I had to squeeze. After I finish squeeze, then I have to set it. The next morning, I have to get up and I have to boil it, and then I have to package it. So it was a 2-day process. Every time I sat down to grate the coconut, it was really a 2-day process, right? Actually, scratch that. It was a 7 days process because I was gratering. Sometimes I just had to do a little bit every day because it was just getting really hard on my hands. And then on the final day, I had to just really do a lot just to get it ready for the orders. It was exhausting, but I was doing it because every time I made the bottles, they would sell out. And so I would definitely have my money coming in. And at this point, my dad was the one really bringing them to sell to his customers. He told his customers, since he has his business, that he has coconut oil. So I would just make it, he would sell it for me, and I would get my money and so forth. So the demand started to pick up a lot. So this business actually made money, right? This one actually made money. And in addition to my dad bringing customers, I also brought in customers. I told people about it. My nails tech was a customer, and everybody that I really encountered with my coworkers and everybody usually supported my business as well. It wasn't registered though. You see, the complete polar opposite. The one that was registered, I have everything going from it, made nothing. This wasn't even registered, and this is where I made the money. So the demand started to increase, and my fingers were on fire, y'all. I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. And I was trying to meet it. I was trying to source a machine because that would have made it easier for me. And my dad knew some people that he asked about the machines, but when they told us the price, it was like ridiculous. I knew they were just trying to rip us off because they figured we needed it. So we didn't take that vendor. One of my aunts, who actually was selling coconut oil at the time, she had a machine, and I asked her to borrow the machine one day because I wanted to try it out to see how it works, if it would even be helpful to me and so forth, because she had the machine and she don't use it. So I'm like, okay, let me try it. When I tried it, I found out why she don't use it. It's so slow. Like, my hands were literally going faster than it. I cannot understand what's going on with these machines. So I said, okay, this is not going to work. I'm just going to have to continue with my hands. When the order started to pick up now, then came my first problem, which is one of the reasons why I had to stop this. I didn't have a consistent supplier. So I was getting coconut from my dad, right? But my dad is a full-time entrepreneur. He's not always available to get coconuts. He had to climb the tree and pick, right? He wasn't always available to get coconuts because he's so busy, and I'm trying to run a business here. I need them when I need them, not when he's able to get me them. So that was the first thing. And then the actual supply that I had, that I was purchasing the bulk of it from, he started to sell to other people, and that reduced the amount that I could get, right? Because in the early stages, I wasn't able to buy every single week because I wasn't getting any orders at that point. So he was, I guess, looking customers. And by the time I was getting consistent orders and I needed to buy every week, he didn't have any to tell me every week. And it was also kind of shady too, guys, because he was telling me he didn't have, but then he was telling people that I know and I heard back. And I'm just like, I just can't. So that just became like my main problem, because I cannot make the oil if I don't have the coconuts. I even tried to source people to go and pick for me, right? Because I could get coconuts on a farm, if I had somebody to pick. I arranged with one of the pickers to come and pick for me, right? So the guy said, yes, he's gonna come. Got up early in the morning waiting for the guy. Haven't seen him. The same night, I went up the road, I saw him, and I'm like, hey, are you gonna come pick them? He said yes. Still to this day, the guy has not come. I cannot understand, why do you keep telling me you're coming if you're not gonna come? Just say you're not coming so I can move on. Which, anyways, I eventually had to move on though, because I wasn't getting any coconuts. I was going to many different places, and I didn't have a vehicle to drive around Jamaica and look coconuts. So I was just going to places that I was able to go on my foot and ask people that I heard, or even people that I don't know, but I just thought maybe they could know. I was asking everybody. Also, at this point, I got a job, right? So I was unemployed for a year and a half, and at this point, when everything started to pick up, I also got a job. So now I'm working in the day, I'm coming home to make these oils, and on my weekends I'm making oil. So it was just a lot, and I couldn't get the suppliers. So that was that was one of the main things as to why this failed, right? The next one, which I talked about this already, but just to frame it, the production process was very time consuming. From the time I got the coconuts to when the oil was produced, it was very long and draining. And then also because I had got a job now, I was packed. When I got home in the evenings, I was grating coconut till sometimes at 11, 12 o'clock in the night, just to keep up with the orders, just to get a bottle made so I could sell, right? And I still needed the money because even though I got a job, it was like super entry level, super entry level. So I still needed that extra money to make up to pay my loan. Yes. So it was just a lot, but the production really took long, and I think I kind of just tapped out because it wasn't sustainable with my schedule. It just wasn't after a while. This other thing, I don't think this is a reason why I failed, because I think the main reason why I failed was because of the supplier, the inconsistent supplier. But this is one thing that I saw that I didn't capitalize on, which is tapping into the markets that really needed it. I had customers, right? But the customers were mainly people that were buying the oil for consumption purposes, for own purposes, right? They're cooking in their own kitchen. So basically business to customers. But there were business to business opportunities that I left on the table. I was literally on Facebook, no, not Facebook. It was actually on YouTube. And I saw this skincare brand, the owner of the skincare brand in Jamaica, that she was desperately hoping the coconut board would have a bottle of coconut oil for her, right? So the manufacturing industry, the manufacturers of these skincare lines that are all over Jamaica with their small businesses, are industries that I could have tapped into to capitalize on, getting new customers. But of course, I don't really think that was a main problem, because the main problem was the supply. Because even if I had tapped into that market, I would not be able to consistently supply them, because I wasn't getting a consistent supply to make my product, right? So from looking back at these two experiences, it's just like the opposite end of the spectrum. And I am really glad that I got both of those experiences. So I cannot say I've never made money in business. Actually, my first business was when I was in primary school, and I was selling bobbies out of a sweetie pan and candies. I probably say this story so much. I didn't even know it was business. And I was just doing it because my dad gave me the sweetie pan. Honestly, my dad saw the entrepreneurship in me for a very long time. Let's just say that, right? Even before I saw it in myself. But that was my first experience. And I sold off every day, so I was making money from then. But since I actually grown up and decided I wanted to start businesses and do entrepreneurship, I can't say I've not made any money from business, because I have. But they're just different challenges that I see as I navigate it. It's just like, okay, in service, these are intangible things that I can offer, but my confidence was not there in order for me to get the results that I wanted. But okay, here, I didn't even know how to make coconut oil, and I learned the skill, sold the products, but I just didn't have a consistent supplier. So from all of this, my main takeaways would definitely be being specific about who you're gonna serve, because it makes your job easier, it makes your outreach tailored, and it will more likely give you a desired outcome. My mentor, as I'm in my career transition now, and he's telling me, like, whenever you're reaching out or connecting with somebody, be specific. Don't do generic, because it sends lazy, and not hardworking people don't want to be associated with lazy people. So it does affect your branding, right? So first thing I would say, be clear on who you're serving, because that does make a difference. The second thing, which is also one thing that I'm learning with me showing up on my YouTube channel daily, I think this is day 14 or 15, I don't even know at this point, but we're still on it. Done is better than perfect. I am just, even when I just started my YouTube channel, I was just spending so much time editing until I burnt myself out and I wasn't able to upload because I dreaded uploading video. I dreaded editing videos. And it made me not want to upload, right? So even when I start now and I'm posting my videos, 2 weeks ago, I had a video recorded and it sat in my phone for 2 weeks because I just couldn't get to editing it. So now when I'm posting my videos and I'm putting on, and if I have more time in my day, I create a thumbnail. If I don't, I don't. I still get to upload my video because I'm practicing. Done is better than perfect. I spent way too much time trying to create a website, trying to create a flyer, trying to create all the things instead of actually reaching out to customers. Spending time in the right place matters, right? And be focused, be genuine and specific to people when you're reaching out. Don't send generic messages. I delete these emails from my phone all the time. And I looking back, I'm thinking, why did I even send these generic emails? Because as soon as I go through my email list, I just delete. And I'm thinking that's the same thing they're going to do to mine. Go figure. And if it's a product-based business and you're not the ideal manufacturer, you need supplies, the next one would definitely be to know how you're going to get your products before you start your business. Of course, things can happen. You know, the supplier relationship can change and all of that, but it's good to have a complete idea of how you're going to channel the process until at least you can figure something else out, right? This next one is really streamlining the process. Of course, I still found ways every time to reduce my production time, but I didn't get it done perfectly. And of course, because I was the only one doing everything, it was a challenge for me to get it done fully to where I wanted. But still try to, consistently reduce your production time at every point because there's a cost to that, right? And this next one is also in addition to researching and ensuring that you have your suppliers, ensuring that you're not missing markets, that they're not untapped markets. Of course, you're not going to start in every single market. Probably you start in one and you expand in others, but know your options. Know your options because it does help for you to maximize your output. All right, so I know this was a lot, but I hope you guys found some benefit in it. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about entrepreneurship, this is a video that you should watch to see some of the things that I did wrong and some things that you can do better and different in your business so you don't join the statistics of 20% small business that fail in the first year. All right, but thank you so much for watching. If this was informative, please comment down below what stood out to you the most. Which one of these failures are you currently experiencing in your business, if any? Or have you experienced before? Or what failure have you experienced? Share it below so we can all learn from it and grow on our journey. Share this with an entrepreneurship friend, even if you're not an entrepreneur, because somebody could definitely benefit from seeing this. And give the video a like. And yeah, if you haven't yet joined my community, it's going to be linked below. This community, you're going to be surrounded by a lot of ambitious women who are on their journey to building holistic wealth. With that being said, I'll see you in my next video tomorrow. Let's go make some mistakes. Bye.